Well, Happy New Year to everyone, folks. Thought I would just maybe start out giving a very quick rundown on what I think was a tremendously successful year and a wee bit of a look ahead then. As I say, we haven't done anything from the update really that I gave you on the 23rd, which was the day that the Minister's letter of clarification came in around the SCSI stuff and then stuff to do with the 5K for emergency works that we should have a process for by the end of January, and also the release of the testing fees, which have been holding in some cases for extended periods of time. Hopefully, seeing that coming through as well for the end of January, and then finally the enhanced role of the homeowner engineer in conjunction with housing agency engineers in coming to the remediation options that's going to be appropriate per dwelling. Okay, so to say, I think it's been a really tremendous year for us here in what's been, almost a decade long campaign now. Publicity was at an absolute all time high. 20 to 30,000 people on the streets of Dublin twice now, extremely successful. Media, between our Twitter groups, between what we're able to do on TV, in papers, not just nationally, but internationally, when we've got the likes of Euronews, where we've been on at least twice or three times, France 24, 3, 4 billion or million followers there as well on that stuff. It's been really tremendous. And then we had our delegation then on the 30th of November. It went to Brussels as well. Very successful, and there's follow up there in the first couple of months of our new year now as well. So we've never been there before. So in that regard, very very successful. Um, if you just reflect back, I suppose, just a little over the year, it was November 20 whenever we took what we called the Big Four that time as a Mike Action Group to Minister O'Brien and sent it to him. It was February before really they got round to addressing it, at least with us, and coming back with a call for a meeting, which we had, and then he wanted some further information and statistics, which we provided. I wanted based on the first 40 odd houses, and was actually around the end of April before we had that. So we provided feedback to him then, and the clarity to all the questions we required. But really, it was the three pillars that we've been still following all the way through, coupled with a role for the banks. And that time we talked about 90-10 as opposed to 100%. The 90-10 was what we're told was always available, but we wanted that other 10% to be paid by the banks. That's where the Big Four come out as opposed to the three pillars. And then the negotiation then with Paddy Diver and the campaign, then we on reflection agreed to take away the banks and just go for the 100% redress that was going to leave. If the banks needed dealt with, let the government do that as opposed to us going to push for that. So the Big Four became the three pillars effectively. So just following that through, we got into the situation then where we had the Paddy Diver injection, which was massively important to us there in around sort of May, June time. 15th of June saw the first Dublin protest, which forced a meeting with the minister himself, and the working group sessions, which he then initiated and started on the 30th of June. Now, just to be clear, that was his initiative as opposed to ours. He called out specifically who he wanted there. He wanted two counties involved because they were the only two counties that IS 465 applied to at the time, and still is the case. Hopefully, all wrapped up now by end of February for the other affected counties there. But he wanted Mike Action Group specifically, and the invite came to us. We shared that with the Paddy Diver campaign, which was the right thing to do, and we had four people nominated between the two groups really. And then the other group was North Mayo Pyrite Group. Again, they were seen as I suppose, the leading force in Mayo at the time, and it was them that was asked for representation as well. So again, that's how that came about, because I know there's been some questions in the past about how that came about. That's exactly how it came about at his request, and we followed through on that. So that we all know the story in the working group negotiations. They were extremely difficult. It did not result in an agreed position in the end. We presented ours and they presented theirs, and they were very very different. Um, It moved on through then. What it did do, I suppose, was help us cement our position around the three pillars. And, we looked at other things as well during the whole course of it and were able to explore it. The likes of the shortfalls in the standard itself, where it doesn't include other sulfates and deleterious materials, doesn't include the foundations. We've been asking for that consistently throughout the working group sessions. Um, and then the other parts, I suppose, was the things like the exclusions. We wanted to make sure everybody was going to be included in there. And that was our pillar number three. And then pillar two was in around the state bank guarantee and the need for quality at the end of all this. And that hasn't gone away. That need for quality has to be there. Nobody needs to go through this nightmare a second time round. That's still a core objective of ours here. I suppose then from that time onwards, then, end of September was the end of the working group. From that on through to the 30th of November, there was a lot of subsequent work going on with John O'Connor, who's now been appointed the chair of the Housing Commission and as the ex-Housing Agency CEO. Very good guy and very much homeowner focused. And then Kevin Dillon as well, who's the special advisor to the minister. Again, has a lot of influence on there and all of that stuff, and can get pathways opened up for us, which is great. And we then had what was referred to as the enhanced scheme come the 30th of November. That ought to have been a real occasion of celebration. Bearing in mind it was a €2.2 billion biggest ever in the state redress scheme. Bearing in mind there's going to be SDSI now based as opposed to in-house costed through the housing department. Bearing in mind there was 15k of rent, there was 5k of storage, there was the cap lifted from 270 to up to 420, and the fact that there was now second homes being included as well, at least the door open to eligible buy-to-let homes. Big shifts from where we were before. But it was dogged by some poor calls that they made, and that's just calling it out. The sliding scale, they just got it all wrong completely. It should never have been in there. No need for it to be in there, and it just caused a lot of upset that wasn't really required. I believe that's now truly gone on the back of the letter that we received on the 23rd of December from the minister himself. The excluded homes, the holiday homes, I believe there will be a pathway for holiday homeowners in the end of this. I believe what they wanted to make sure was going to happen was that, families or homes with families 12 months a year, and then we're going to be seen to first. There were other ways of making that happen if that's what the goal was. But, I believe there'll still be a pathway for holiday homeowners as well. And bearing in mind, we have got precedents in this already in the Leinster Pyrite scheme. Nobody excluded holiday homeowners down there. So we still have stuff to fight on there, and there's no doubt about that part. But again, it was put in there. Could it have been handled better? I believe definitely it could have been handled better, and that'll be still a case for us to fight forward with here. I suppose the other issues then was the standards. We know those shortfalls in the standards wasn't addressed. Like I said, the foundation's not included. And then you've got the other deleterious materials not included on there. So there's certainly shortfalls there. And then around the pillar two, even though there's now a second bite of the cherry, which is a big step forward from where we were, where it was basically one bite of the cherry, and if you got it wrong, you got it wrong. Now there is a second bite, but we would like to see that backed up stronger in the legislation, which I know the plan to do, but also in around some things to do with the state bank guarantee then. But overall, a major shift in principle. The fact that there's independent costings now, the fact that you've got index linked that never was there before, the fact that you've now got movement from just principal private residence to beyond is all in the right direction. So I do believe it's successful here in that regard. Is there more to do? Absolutely, there's more to do here. And we're not going to get all into it today, but January and February is going to be very important months. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. When they go for this bill come the end of February, it can have the gaps closed in it, or they can wait and try and put it through the House, and we'll make sure that opposition table all the amendments. But either way, we're going to make sure this thing's right in the end. Okay, so stick with us, and here's the good year.